Welcome to our podcast, Living Our Best with Memory Loss. What makes this podcast unique is that three of its hosts, Bob, Dennis, and Sue Ann, have a memory loss diagnosis. The purpose of this podcast is for people to share their experiences with cognitive decline. It is not to provide medical advice. We are not doctors, and we stress that what might have worked for one person might not work for others. If anything you hear on this program inspires you to explore treatment options, we recommend you do so in consultation with your physician.
Welcome back to our podcast, Living Our Best with Memory Loss. Our guest who joined us for the last podcast joined us again today, and his name is Mike Zundell. And the first podcast where we introduced you to Mike, we talked about his journey and his diagnosis. And on Mike's second episode, we're going to talk about his fantastic website called notdemented.com. Mike, thank you for joining us again for yet another podcast. And then Dennis, who is typically here, and by the way, Sue Ann wasn't able to make it today, so we miss her, and she will have missed a wonderful podcast. But Dennis, you didn't join us today because you're sort of having an off day.
Yeah, I've had a number of off days, actually about 2 weeks worth. I haven't driven a car for a couple of years because of confusion with the controls and just being bombarded by all kinds of sensory information coming through the windows and all of that. I panic, but just crazily, I still ride a motorcycle, but it's been 2 weeks since I've even touched the bike, and I haven't been cognitively well enough to sit on the thing and start it, much less operate it. And that just kind of speaks to how you have good days, in this case, a good day and then several bad days, and how it's not, the way this disease presents is so complex and so different among people who all have the same diagnosis. So anyway, that's why I'm sitting at home right now.
I'm just grateful for Zooms. I'm grateful for Zooms also, Mike, that you're here and able to join us, since I know that you're on Mountain Time and you got up especially early to join us today. Dennis, thank you for sharing that with us. Mike, talk to us about notdemented.com. Why was it created? What's it all about?
Well, one of the things I had a conversation with when I first got diagnosed with my family was, what am I going to do with this disease? This disease has me, but what am I going to do with this disease? How can it impact my life? And first thing I decided, I was going to go public. I was not going to not tell anybody, because I didn't want to hide about it and things like that. So I went public with it, and I got involved with the Alzheimer's Association. I was on their early stage advisory group, and that led to some public speaking. But one thing that always bothered me, especially with my parents, was the word dementia. And I did not like the word dementia. I thought it was a nasty word. But I didn't know if this was just me or I'm just being overly sensitive. So I decided to do some research on it, and I commissioned a 1,000 person survey across the country of people 65 years of age and older, demographically correct. And what we found out was, yes, there was a stigma associated with the word dementia. 83% of the non-white population and 75% of the white population said, yes, there was a stigma associated with the use of the word dementia. Okay. Now, so that's okay. No one likes the word. Okay. So the second most important question was, is this delaying treatment? And again, the statistics were overwhelming. 80% and 70% said that the stigma of Alzheimer's disease through the use of the word dementia was delaying them seeking early treatment. So that was the proof statement that, yes, this is a real live issue. So, so that's what we found. We found out a lot of other interesting things. For example, the three words that are most used associated with the use of dementia are helplessness, confusion, and isolation.
Mhm.
Those are not, happy words. Okay. You know, I live a happy life. I know Dennis very shortly, and I think he lives a mostly happy life. Okay. Um, so there's a lot of issues around that. And I also have people say, well, we don't use, we use dementia, but we don't use the word demented. Okay. That's impossible. Because the definition of, 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 of dementia by definition is a person who is demented. And the definition of someone who is demented is someone who suffers from dementia. Demented is the adjective of dementia. So don't tell me you can say one word but not the other. It's the English language, and it just doesn't work. So I went to Webster's dictionary also for some more backup. In Webster's dictionary, is the first definition of demented is mad or insane. Second definition is affected by or exhibiting cognitive dementia. The synonyms, and bear with me here because people go, yeah, I know it's a bad word. But I want to tell everyone what the 19 synonyms in Webster's dictionary of demented are: psychotic, insane, nuts, maniac, crazy, lunatic, mad, maniacal, mental, gaga, crazed, psycho, deranged, paranoid, stern, loony, wacky, unhinged, cuckoo, screwy, and bonkers. Why in the world are we using the word dementia, which was first as a medical diagnosis in 1797? Okay, why are we using that today? I think it's horrible. I think it's demeaning. I think it puts a label on this that we don't deserve. And it's also preventing people from getting early detection. So there's no good argument to keep using that word, except we've always used that word. Okay, so it's bad. So we looked at, what other words have changed, and the base case that came out was mental retardation. In 2006, there were two words in a big book called the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual, which is the Bible of all psychiatric diagnoses. Two words were removed in 2006 because they were deemed to be pejorative and just bad words. One was mental retardation, and that movement was so strong, they went on to get Congress pass a law called Rose's Law. And Rose's Law prohibited the use of mental retardation in any federal publication. The other word in 2006 that removed from that Bible of diagnoses was dementia, but it went nowhere.
Really?
Did
Wow.
not have any support. Okay, they replaced it with major and minor neurocognitive disease. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling on here, but that's just sort of the nature of it and the history of it. And we've got the data to show that we've got to change. We got to stop using this word, and that will make us feel better. It will make early diagnosis more able. And so it's just got to go. That's all there is to it. So, I'm sorry, but kind of get going.
You're not rambling on. I had no idea when you were naming all the synonyms. It's horrible.
So people come to me, they say, well, what do you want to use? I said, well, okay, why don't we try lunatic or gaga? I mean, what, you want a replacement? So the replacements, we also, in the survey, we also did that, found, the most preferred one was cognitive impairment, okay? Mild or major, okay? We also now have someone using the term at Banner Alzheimer's Institute, disabling cognitive impairment, okay? Just kind of separate it from mild cognitive impairment. Okay, so we have that. And then the other word that they chose was a neurodegenerative disease was second, Alzheimer's disease was third, and the last was dementia. Okay, so it was the least favored term by far. Okay, so we've also published on the website notdemented.com a language guide of what you can use to replace that word depending on what your area of expertise is. So we have names for organizations, names for healthcare providers, names for the media, and names for individuals. That's on the website. Our suggested substitutes, and there is precedent in this because now we have had several diseases already renamed. Lewy body dementia is now known as Lewy body disease. Frontal temporal dementia is known as frontal temporal degeneration. Vascular dementia is now referred to as vascular cognitive impairment, and cortical basal dementia is now cortical basal syndrome. So the change is happening, okay, because people are realizing that we're giving this people this horrible label that they don't deserve.
You've made progress.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We have major drug company. I don't know if I can mention them or not, but major drug company, the biggest drug companies in the world, is sponsors the initiative to change the D word, and they have gone through their all of their data and publications, and they're removing dementia, and they are also removing Alzheimer's because they did a study similar to mine and found out there was a stigma actually with the word Alzheimer's, and they're using memory issues, okay, thinking issues. All people always like to say Alzheimer's and related dementias. Okay, you can change that really easy. Alzheimer's and related diseases. I mean, that's not hard. That's really not hard to do. Instead of using demented and dementia, we're living with cognitive impairment. Okay, and so we have to get the medical community to start talking about in terms of symptoms. Okay. Mike has short-term memory issues. His executive functioning is okay. His spatial awareness is average. So I mean, just define the disease specifically by symptoms, and that's what we're hoping the medical practitioner, will come around to. Instead of giving it this umbrella, dementia is, as used now, covers over 100 different neurodegenerative diseases. In other words, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It's just a nasty word. We used to call mental retardation used to have the medical diagnosis of imbecile. Okay, that was a medical accepted diagnosis of imbecile. Then it changed to mental retardation. Then it changed to intellectual disabilities.
So then I was going to ask you, so how do you go about changing it? But what you're saying is it has to come from the top. It has to come from the doctors, has to come from the scientists, it has to come from the people that are putting out the books and the pamphlets. They have to do the changing in order to get the populace to change with it.
Great observation. Because when I set up the nonprofit, and I work with the nonprofit advocacy communications firm, the question was, what's our strategy going to be? Are we going to go for grassroots support? Okay, which takes a long time, but it's a strong buildup. Okay, or should we go straight to the top and say, you guys got to stop this now? And so we've kind of are going to the big pharma companies, the largest advocacy companies, organizations, and trying to go to them because in my life, I'm kind of Mr. Hurry Pants. I always have I have a motto: nothing great happens without a sense of urgency. And so I thought, and we think this is the fastest way to get this done is go to the major organizations, the major pharma companies, the major publications, and trying to get it done quicker faster that way. Everyone I talk to agrees with me. Everybody. No
Yeah.
one has said that's an okay word. They say, yeah, but it's always been used. I say, yeah, but so was so are some really nasty words always used,
Right.
some racial discriminatory terms.
I was trying to think back of what my doctors said to me after I got the testing done. What terms did they use?
Vascular dementia, and MCI, vascular dementia. And so now Mike is saying, what was the alternate vascular disease or
Vascular cognitive impairment.
sounds a little bit more kind, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And then they can stage that. I know there's supposed to be 8 stages of Alzheimer's, which I think is ridiculous, because how do you tell stage 2.5 from 3 and 3? We don't have that technology yet, but they're working on doing a much better job at evaluating your current cognitive state. So what we have right now is really decades old. The cognitive exams you take are kind of silly.
I think it needs to be a top-down approach. It's got to be a top-down approach, and it's got to appear uniformly in the literature. It's got to appear in on-camera pronouncements whenever a neuroscientist or a neurodegenerative specialist speaks of neurodegenerative disease, she has to use a universally accepted umbrella term to describe this. And I think an umbrella term is necessary without using the word dementia and without calling the whole bloody mess of it Alzheimer's, because that's not right. Am I making any sense?
You're making perfect sense, Dennis, and those are great observations. On our website, we have an 11-page language guide that goes through all the points you just discussed, and how we can approach this, because everyone always says, "Well, what are you going to call? What are you going to call?" It seems to be the big thing. I do have I have a board certified neurologist, and she's double board certified neurology and psychology. And I talked to her about it, and she said, "Yeah, I don't know." She used dementia a lot. She called me back about 3 days later. She said, "I thought about what you said, and the reason I've been using dementia is because I'm lazy, and it's too easy to use. So now I'm going to work harder at using something that's appropriate for her." So it's David against Goliath on this, because it's everywhere. But as my daughter, I was telling my kids about this, and when I wanted to go public, and I was afraid to go public because of the stigma, but I wanted to go public to fight the stigma. And my youngest daughter said, "Dad, if you don't do this, who will?" So you can't let your daughter down. So that was sort of the impetus. But it's gaining a lot of. Someone at Eli Lilly told us that we've done more in 6 months than most nonprofits in 6 years. So that was very, very encouraging. So we've got people's attention. But it's still going to take a whole lot of effort and time and money to get this done. But we're going to get it done.
I'm proud to say that we're doing this podcast, Mike, and I hope this is helpful. I hope folks, we're small, but I like to think we're mighty, and by driving people to your website and by introducing people to you, I hope that folks begin to take action, and slowly but surely we lose that word dementia.
Thank you very much. Notdemented.com is the place to go. And please feel free to contact me through that avenue. And I'm happy to talk to anybody about their journey or their concerns or their help, or what they could do to help us. But notdemented.com.
Mike, what a pleasure. Thank you so much. I hope you'll come back.
Thank you.
Oh,
We'd love to hear from
Mike,
you again.
Dennis, great
Mike,
to meet you.
thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
doing a lot of good. You're doing a lot of good.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. But I want to thank Living Our Best with Memory Loss that's awesome. That's awesome. That's really, really great.
Thank you.
Thank you.